the most successful session since I've been here, and in recent memory for most Oklahomans. We got to build on that. We can't say, "Hey, look what we did last year." No one's going to care about that next year.
Yep.
We've got to.
That's right.
We've got to keep investing in education. We've got to keep investing in infrastructure, making sure that we diversify our economy. Aerospace is coming on huge.
All right, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of OK Senate on Deck. Of course, just like every week with President Pro Tem, Senator Greg Treat. Senator, you doing all right?
Doing excellent.
Awesome. We got special guest this week, Senator Paul Scott. Senator, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. So for the people that maybe not know all about your background and about your district, you're from Senate District 43, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And that's down in Duncan. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about your background and maybe about your district and what your expertise is that you bring to the Senate?
Okay. Sure. I'm down in Duncan. It's where I live now, and that's where our current business is. And I have all of McLean County. I have what we call the Panhandle of Garvin County, which is Lindsay and Bradley.
Gotcha.
And then I have Brush Springs. And
Watermelon
a little
Fest.
bit of Watermelon Festival's coming up. It's coming up soon.
Do you spit the seeds?
So I spit the seeds.
Yeah.
I got third in this.
You got third?
Third out of
second place
three
loser.
people.
Second place loser.
I was third out of three.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That sounds like something
you
we need to come
you
down
got to
and
win
film.
this year.
I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best.
Do you grow watermelons?
I don't. My granddad used to grow watermelons. We used to have probably 30 or 40 acres of watermelons. I was the loader, whenever you'd go through the field, like hay, except it's watermelon.
You brought the muscle.
I brought the muscle.
I like it.
I cut you off. Rush Springs is where you were saying you're going.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get on the watermelon.
Yeah,
I want to get on the port.
That's right. That's right. And I believe we're having a watermelon day at the Capitol. Coming up, and we'll be serving watermelon out on the west lawn of the Capitol, right out the west entrance.
You going to be loading watermelons that day?
I don't know that I'm going to be loading watermelons.
That's the expertise he brings to the Senate you're talking about.
But sorry, we got distracted with watermelons there.
Right, and the seed spitting, of course.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you have a business. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, my wife and I, we own a mobile X-ray company. So we go to like nursing homes, home health, take care of jails and so forth around the state.
Love it.
We cover the whole state, and I love doing what we do. I think it's a great service, and I'm really blessed to be able to do what I love to do to make a living and to be able to care for our senior adults. And then other people that aren't able to get out to the hospital. We've taken X-rays on infants before and smaller children that it's really difficult to get them out to a hospital, or some others with some different ailments that it's just easier to do their X-rays at home.
It's a great service.
I love doing that, and this is the 18th year of our company.
Successful company right there. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's been going very well, and like I said, we cover the entire state, so I'm really, really happy.
That's great.
Proud to be able to do that.
So both of you have actually had a very busy interim so far. Senator Treat, you've had nonstop meetings, going to different events and things like that. Senator Scott, you also have been kind of traveling around the state and working in your district quite a bit, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been a busier summer and interim than I had imagined, and I'd been asked, about what am I going to be doing, for this next year, if I'm going to get more active or busy. And, I just have been busy for 3 years, really. I said, I do what I do every day. And I go out to the constituents. I go to chamber meetings, Lions clubs. We had a bridge ribbon cutting in Purcell the other day. With Purcell and Lexington being
That's a big deal. That's
joined.
been a long time.
That was a long time. The construction of that bridge only took about 2 years, though, once they got started on the bridge, which typically Secretary Gatt said is about a 10-year project.
Really?
But everyone came together. It was such a vital part of the businesses and the community and the safety for those two communities that connected those two communities. And with the legislators' help and the governor and ODOT and all the contractors got together, and they got that done in 2 years.
That's
so
awesome.
It opened the other day. So it's an amazing structure. It's a 4-lane bridge. They've got about an 8-foot walking and bicycling path that also goes across the bridge as well. So that was very impressive addition to the bridge as well.
Huge deal to your district.
Oh, it's amazing. So
that's awesome.
It was good.
Well, kind of moving forward, one thing coming up here at the Capitol within the Senate is interim studies. I know you've both requested at least one interim study. Senator Scott, you have quite a few, and Senator Treat, you have one, the county home rule. Can you just real quickly, well, before we get there, can you kind of explain to us just real quick, recap on what an interim study is and what the importance that it plays in the legislative process?
So interim between the time we're in session in May till we go back in February is the interim, unless we're in special session, and then it's that time again. But the interim is a time where we not only have meetings in our district and hear what people are talking about and continue to work and play in our district, but also we're at the Capitol a lot, still having meetings, still trying to ferret things out, learn more. So interim studies are an opportunity for members to get together to study an issue that may or may not need legislation for the next year. Right. So some people request interim studies on bills that did not get through the process last year to say, okay, there were some weak spots. How do we get through it? Okay. Or we need to build more consensus on this issue. Other people, it's a brand new concept they're trying out, and they want to run it through a committee to kind of fill it out, learn more about it, educate their colleagues on it. Mine, the county home rule, falls in that first category. I ran a bill last year that was not fully baked. And so I pulled back on it because I saw there were some shortcomings in how it impacted some rural communities and some urban communities. It was drafted originally with a lot of input from people from the Tulsa area. Right. And it didn't apply, the way it was worded did not apply equally to Oklahoma City and rural communities. So I wanted to get input from county commissioners around the state, both suburban, rural, urban, and make sure that what we do can have a good impact on all the state. I don't want to do anything that adversely impacts the part. So we pulled back. I'm going to study it. In fact, just before I came here, we were doing a ceremonial bill signing, and I ran into the county commissioners, and I said, please come, please participate. I want to have your input.
That's great.
But county home rule, just in a nutshell, allows counties to vote whether or not they want to have a different form of government. Right now, all 77 counties have 3 commissioners elected and that are full-time jobs. Some other states have allowed different numbers of county commissioners to be elected and be much more like what you see on a city council where they hire an executive director for the county. Right. And some have found savings, some have not. So let's study it and let's move it forward. I believe in it, giving the local county the option to modernize. But there were some shortcomings in the way it was drafted last year, so we're going back to the drawing table.
Yeah, you hit on something there that I think is really important when it comes to interim studies, because at its core, it's a study, right? It's for legislators to learn more about a certain topic, to see, like you said, whether or not it should be pursued in the following legislative session in an actual bill.
So sometimes you find out, no, there doesn't need to be legislation. There's already legislation there. I mean, a lot of times you find that out.
So, but it's good to go back and study and actually take an in-depth look where you have experts coming in and actually referencing the topic. So
yeah, and you can see other legislators will ask questions that you haven't thought of, and so you really sharpen your tools before you get into session. Senate Bill 1, which was Loft, that came out of an interim study from last year. So these are very serious. People should be paying attention to what we're doing in these interim studies.
Senator Scott, you have a interim study I found especially interesting because it's something that annoys me just about every day, and it is Robo Calls. Certainly. Robo Calls, or you're studying the topic of Robo Calls and the calls to individual cell phones. Can you kind of speak to that a little bit and what you hope to accomplish with that study?
Yeah, certainly, and I as well receive several calls a day on my cell phone. Even now they were getting your cell phone numbers and local numbers and that are reaching out to you. But I'd had a constituent that had the same number for years, and he keeps getting the calls all the time. So him and his wife are changing their home number, and which he had for several years. And he had reached out to me.
What are those?
Yeah, I know. Like landlines. What are those?
This is an actual landline. So they were doing away with their landline, and it really upset his kids. And it was really funny. I guess it's funny, but how his kids were upset that had been their phone number since they were they were born. In
Yeah, they had
in this
identified
home.
it,
They,
yeah.
they identified that number when they call mom and dad, when they reach out to them, for Christmas or holidays. That's their number.
Right.
Well, now that doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
So it really, emotionally, it really got to them. So
I can see that. My parents have had the same number since I was born.
Yeah.
Something you just identify. You don't even think about it. You dial it without even thinking.
Right.
So yeah.
So that's something we're going to look into and see. I know it's a lot of it is federal. I think with the FCC and so forth that regulate
Right.
a lot of the calls. So we're going to look into that and see if there's anything we can do.
That's good.
Here as a state.
That's good, and just learn more about the topic, right?
Certainly.
That's perfect. So another interim study that you requested has to do with youth and reading. I think the Reading Sufficiency Act. Can you kind of speak to that a little bit and what you're hoping to look at there?
Yeah, thank you. I've been talking to a lot of the teachers in my district, and they were talking about the Reading Sufficiency Act and some of the maybe possible downfalls that they believe that they see actually in the classroom that they deal with students. They're wanting to look at ways to come up with a way to determine like retention of third graders with the state test. There's already, they think, a large gap possibly in some of the kids
Right.
in their reading skills. So we're just going to look at that and involve some teachers, third grade teachers, second grade teachers, kindergarten teachers, have them come in and participate and let us know what they're seeing. Of course, we'll work with the State Department of Ed as well on this, and just to maybe learn something and maybe bridge a gap and disconnect maybe between the state and our actual classroom teachers.
That's great.
And give them a voice.
You said bringing in teachers. That's a great, because they're they get to see it every day. They're the experts on that area of helping those students learn to read and things like that. So
these interim studies, I want to point this out, are on our website.
Yes, absolutely.
They're on our social media. You and Aaron have done a good job of promoting that. Come to these. These are meetings that the public should come to, should participate. Certainly. If you have a certain expertise that you want to make sure that member knows about, reach out to that member and say, hey, here's an angle you may not have thought about.
Yeah, certainly.
We need participation. We're elected legislators. We're supposed to lead on a number of issues, many of which we have not actually had personal experience with. And so we need people who actually have the classroom teacher. We need that perspective. We need perspective from doctors and stay-at-home moms. How does this really impact? It's not just a concept. It actually impacts people's daily lives, and we need their input.
That's right.
Certainly.
There was a number of studies requested by specifically
over 80.
Over 80 interim studies requested. A number of education. It's great to see our legislators really looking to learn and to grow on the topics that we'll be moving forward for next legislative session potentially.
I saw on social media someone had responded and said, you're going to spend millions of dollars doing that. That's a misnomer.
Yeah.
So these interim studies are done using existing resources, existing staff, and so don't let anyone shy us away from doing these studies. They're extremely important.
Yeah.
And there's this misperception that they're going to cost the state millions of dollars.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that came from exactly.
I don't, but I've heard that a few times, and I saw it on our social media yesterday. And I wanted to address that head on because that's not true.
Right.
We use existing staff, existing resources. There's some mileage sometimes, but it's a very minimal cost. We already have meetings up here. You want your legislators actively engaged. You want your legislators learning.
Yep.
Believe it or not, we don't know everything, and we're going to admit that. And so we need to have input from the public. We need input from experts. We need input sometimes from other states to what is their experience.
Yeah.
And so it's extremely beneficial. And I don't want people to have that misperception.
That's great. That's a good side note there.
That's a good point.
Senator Scott, I wanted to ask you something about a bill you ran last year, actually.
Okay.
So this last legislative session, it was, I believe the bill number was Senate Bill 893.
Yeah.
It was huge for foster families and encouraging foster families in Oklahoma. Tell us a little bit more about that and what you hope that bill actually accomplishes.
Well, yesterday we had the ceremonial signing for that bill where Governor signed the bill yesterday.
Congratulations, by the way. Yeah, that's awesome.
That was really an amazing thing to be able to participate in. And we had some of the people that really walked beside me and really helped push the legislation through and educate the members on what this actually did. But Senate Bill 893 put back into place a tax deduction that we had for fostering children for up to $5,000. Well, that bill had a sunset in there that was not seen, or they didn't know about it, didn't pay attention to it. So the bill sunset, or the credit, the deduction,
Right.
rolled off in
Meaning
2017.
that it became unavailable.
It was
correct?
unavailable. It
Gotcha.
rolled off and sunsetted in 2017.
Yeah.
It wasn't available anymore. It was brought to my attention, so I was certainly wanting to bring the legislation forward. Worked with some people with that, and was able to get that pushed through. I mean, I hope it will encourage people. Not that I'm trying to entice people to foster, because fostering is a hard issue. People love and care about children. They're going to do this whether they get this $5,000 deduction off their, or not. But it's just something that helps people that it might be a issue with them with the financing, that really want to possibly foster a child. They can get this tax deduction as well, and that will help them with the supplies, their clothing, their food. I mean, they treat them just like their own children, and they may be called at midnight to have to go out and get a child, and bring them into their home.
Yep.
So a lady I visited with yesterday at the bill signing, she was had 3 of her own children. She was fostering, I think, 2 or 3 other children, and she's working a few jobs.
Yeah.
But her heart is so big. I mean, she's taking care of these people. And that's just something that really pulled at my heart, that said, hey, we need to do what we can as a state to be able to encourage fostering, to be able to help these children whenever they're down and out, and there's no one else there for them.
Yep.
I want to be able to encourage other people to be there and to help do that.
When I first got elected to the legislature, we were having a real shortfall of people who wanted to foster and adoptive homes, and a lot of it was the way they were treated by the state in some ways, and just different pressures, and there was a real downtrodden view. We've turned the corner on that at DHS. You can never let up on that. These broken families can exist till the second coming, but we have put a lot of resources as a state.
Yep.
Individuals have put a lot of resources. I was so happy at church this Sunday that my pastor prayed for Justin Brown by name and the DHS leadership about foster care and adoption. If you have a heart for the unborn, you also have a heart for these kids who need to be adopted, need to be fostered. It's a real calling, and I'm extremely excited you got that to the governor's desk and signed into law.
Well, thank you. It was an exciting thing to be able to do for me as well. And
absolutely.
And you made an important point there. I've had several people talk to me about. I have a passion for the unborn, but a lot of times we're marked with the fact that maybe we don't care for the living children that are out there. So this is part of that, to just say that, hey, we do care for the kids that are here, that need care. They need homes, they need food, they need shelter, and we do care about those children.
That's great.
So
there's a lot of people that open up their homes, their hearts, their pocketbooks to help out.
Right.
We need more people. We need great people doing that.
Yep.
That these kids are in a transitional part of their life that can be transformational in their family's tree.
Certainly.
And we need to make sure we wrap around not only as a church family in church or whatever your faith group is, but also as a state to make sure the most vulnerable are taken care of.
That's cool, and very well said by both of you. That pretty much encompasses that topic really well, and explains exactly why that was such an important bill for you moving forward. Moving into next legislative session, I just want to get both of your thoughts really quickly. We're in the middle of, I guess August is right around the corner. Wow. Summer's moving by fast, which means fall's coming. We, of course, OU football is about to start. So
yes, another national championship,
September 1st,
of course,
night game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So I'm ready for that.
Absolutely.
Boomer sooner.
That's right.
So beyond that, just around the corner there is another legislative session. I think this will be your fourth legislative session, Senator Scott. Real quickly, hearing from you first, Senator Scott, what are some of the things that you are most excited about with this next year?
Well, last year we were able to do a lot of things.
A lot,
I mean,
yes.
A lot of, whenever you have money, a lot of times you're able to fund some things that have been neglected in the past. You're able to do some things. But the Senate has done things in the past that enabled us to be able to do that.
Yes.
They put several things in place over the last 10 to 12 years that a lot of people in public life, they don't realize what all was done behind the scenes, the different bills and things that were put in place to be able to have that extra money. I'm excited about the new governor, our pro tem working together with the speaker, just to have more transparency in our agencies, to be able to really dig down into those agencies and spend money for these children that we talked about earlier, or education, or our roads. I believe there's money in these agencies right now currently that is not being spent well. So I believe with the transparency with Loft and some of the oversight and some of the things that we're going to be putting in place, the accountability, I'm so excited about that, to just see where that leads us to over the next year. I'm excited about being a part of that and just moving Oklahoma forward and making us the great state that it is.
That's right.
And just become recognized nationally as being an amazing state, that we are.
Absolutely. Pro Tem?
Yeah, I'm excited. We have to build off the successes of last session. We had the most successful session since I've been here, and in recent memory for most Oklahomans. We got to build on that. We can't say, "Hey, look what we did last year." No one's going to care about that next year. We've got to.
That's right.
We've got to keep investing in education. We've got to keep investing in infrastructure, making sure that we diversify our economy. Aerospace is coming on huge.
Yes, it is. That's right.
We don't need to do anything to squander that. We need to make sure that continues going forward. I'm not a big believer that government decides who wins and loses, but we can definitely make sure we invest in infrastructure and incentivize those type of jobs coming in. I'm excited. I think there's a lot of momentum with Governor Stitt, with Speaker McCall, myself, and our caucuses. We were working very closely together, and I think we share the same vision, the same destiny. There may be a different route to get there sometimes, but I'm extremely excited. This session, this interim, we're doing a study on healthcare, about access and affordability, akin to what we did on marijuana last year. I expect big things. Loft is starting as we're recording that this week, tomorrow. I expect big things. We cannot squander the opportunity. We have great opportunity in front of us, and I think we're going to do. You're going to see us do awesome things.
And there's a common denominator that I hear just listening to both of you speak. When I asked you that question, I guess close to a year ago, moving into last session, the word you used was optimistic and optimism. There's a sense of optimism around the Capitol building. I don't feel like that's let up. I feel like there's still a sense of optimism moving in. Like you said, almost springing off such a successful session this past year, and moving that same optimism and momentum moving into this next year. So do you kind of feel the same way?
I absolutely do. I mean, we're not blind to challenges we face. We're not blind to what's going on sometimes with the oil and gas prices going up and down. But we put ourselves in a good spot. Senator Scott talked about it, about having more money to spend this year than we did last year. But we also put aside an additional $200 million for an overall savings of $1 billion. So we're well positioned. We're well positioned to springboard and go even higher. And if for some reason our economy doesn't perform like it should, we're well positioned to be able to protect those core services and make sure that we protect those investments. So I have a real sense of enthusiasm, excitement. I tell you, when I travel the state, my district, even when I travel outside of Oklahoma, there's a renewed sense of optimism about the direction Oklahoma's going.
Love that. Absolutely. Senator Scott, anything to add on that?
Well, the word was optimism last year, and I was thinking while he was saying that, I'm thinking expectation. That's my expectations as we move forward, is to expect better, to expect us to be at that level, to perform at that level.
That's right.
And to continue moving forward and be recognized nationally as the great state, like I said, that we are.
Absolutely.
And have that expectation and accountability and that we are moving forward.
In the short run, I expect you to win the Rush Springs watermelon seed spinning contest.
Bringing it back to the watermelon.
He's bringing it back to the watermelon. Hey,
anything less than first is not good.
If you're first, you're last. No,
if you're second, you're last.
Well, that's true. If you're second, that's true. That's right.
First, yeah.
I always have a saying. I always tell my wife, man, I got I got fourth out of three people.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But hopefully, I
expect big things. I'm optimistic about your ability to win that. You've got to bring that home.
Okay. Pro Tem, I don't want to speak for anything, but this sounds like something that maybe our media team may need to go and live record whenever Senator Scott is doing the sunflower or the watermelon.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. Yes, absolutely. We need that.
All right, you heard it. We got permission right there. We're going to be down in where's it? Rush Springs? Yes, right.
Rush Springs.
And what's the date on that one again? Do you remember?
Coming up soon, right? I don't. It's
Oh,
coming up in
we'll
the
look
next
it up.
couple of weeks.
Love
It's
it.
in August. We'll have the Watermelon Queen. We'll be there as well.
Perfect.
She's been out promoting and doing a great job. But it'll be a fun event. They have tons of watermelon for everybody. So
that's enough
just come out and
incentive
enjoy
right
it.
there.
Yeah, it's a big incentive.
Well, hey guys, we're about out of time here, but before we sign off, any last things you wanted to add before we shut down the podcast here?
I just want to thank you,
Yes.
for having me on today. It's always great to be able to share about what's going on in my district and Oklahoma.
It sounds like there's a lot going on in your district.
There's a lot happening. It's a daily thing of events and schedules, but I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, sure.
Senate District 43 is well served by you, and you work continually throughout the whole year like most of our colleagues, and I want to make sure people recognize just how passionate you are about that district and about the state, and I think most of our colleagues share that as well. So thank you for serving and appreciate you being here.
Sure. Thank you.
Well, thank you both again for just being available to update our everyday Oklahomans on what's going on here at the Capitol and giving us the latest news of what you've both been working on. You're both extremely busy, even though it's interim, just making sure that our state is becoming even better every single day. So
I can't wait for the remote on location Rush Springs. Maybe I'll be there too. We'll see.
We will need to make that happen.
I want you to show up, and anyone can participate. So we may have a little wager
showdown
going on here between,
I like this idea.
Pro Tem and Senator Scott down in Rush Springs on the spitting contest.
I don't want to outshine you, though.
Not in his own district. That's very kind of you, Pro Tem.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Well, hey guys, we're about out of time here, but I want to thank you again for both having us on, and thank you guys for listening and just being able to willing to learn about what's going on here in Oklahoma. And like Pro Tem said just a few moments ago, next thing coming up here at the Capitol is the interim study. So if you see an interim study that interests you, that you think you would like to talk to your senator about, feel free to reach out to them and communicate with them about that topic. So. Guys, anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, hey, guys, you can listen to any more of our podcasts. They're all available on iTunes. You can just go into iTunes and search Oklahoma Senate Republicans, and the first one up there will be OK Senate on Deck. So
his social media.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Senator Scott, where can our listeners find you on social media? Because you do a lot of you're very active on social media, so I want to make sure.
Yeah, certainly. I've got my Facebook page is Senator Paul Scott, and then I also have a Twitter account which is Senator_Scott.
Easy enough.
That I post on as well. So
love it.
Anytime.
Well, there you go. Be sure to follow Senator Scott, stay up to date about what he's got going on. Of course, you can follow Senator Treat or the podcast on our Oklahoma Senate Republicans page. So beyond that, guys, I guess we're about done here, and we'll see you next time here on OK Senate on Deck. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
If we can do it in one take, that's obviously perfect. If you do come to a point and say, hey, I'd rather restate that or something like that, no big deal. I'll just re-ask the question and we'll go back.
Greg will be like, hey, Paul, can you restate that?
I'm like, no, cut.
Whoa, he didn't mean that.